Okay, so let's get started by building the actual level. So for this I have two mood boards that I made. Basically, I always like to do this for a scene if I'm not really sure what I want yet. Mood board is basically, I just went online, I just looked for some pictures, in this case forests, and I just choose the best pictures and paste them all together in Photoshop just so we can have an overview of different type of moods and how the trees grow, how parts are made, where will be logic places for rocks and everything. Got another one which is lighting mood, which will give us the bit of the mood of the lighting, and I will be choosing this one to really give like the lighting feel. So we will be making something like this, and maybe combine it a bit over here to have a bit of stronger light, which is always nice. So I will just drag these over to my second screen. It's just handy to sometimes look at it. It will be in your reference folder in the source files. And I think it's time to actually get started by creating our, well, yeah, as I said before, by creating our scene. So back in Unreal, what I want to do is, first of all, I want to just create a folder, and I want to call this forest tutorial or whatever name you want. And in here I will just drop some of the things that I will be importing, like a color LUT, and also now I will be importing my my plane. So as I said before, we will not be using the landscape tool, but because the materials that we use from the kite demo, which have a bit of pretty intense displacement on it, those materials don't really work that good on the landscape. So what I want to do is I have this plane. Let me just quickly open up the folder on my second screen and drag it in. So I just made this plane in Max. You guys will also have this plane just in the project. If I import the plane, all I want to do is I just want to set the uniform scale to, let's say, 10. And I don't need to import materials or textures. So just import. And we can just close this window. So if I open this and just drag this window over here so that it will be as like tabs, just as in the internet, it is just a very simple plane. Only thing I did in Max was that if we go to wireframe, you can see that I subdivided the plane. I think I did it 64 times, might be more, might be actually 100 times or something. But I just subdivide the plane so that it will support our displacement a bit better. So we do not really need to change anything of the plane, it's just here. So if I zoom out and I just want to start by placing my plane just by dragging it in our view over here. And I just want to set the location to 0, 0 and 0. And then just zoom in. So here is our plane. Now right now I noticed that the plane is a bit too small. So first of all, let's set the mobility to movable because we want to have everything static. And let's set the scale to 10 by 10 by 10, like this. Let's have a look at lit to wireframe. So with the wireframe I can sort of guess the scale. So I want to make this 15 by 15 by 15. Like this. And now one more thing I want to do just before we start. I actually want to set this to unlit, now I think about it. Just before we start creating a material or that we can paint on it, I just want to go into my Infinity Grasslands. I want to go into environments, and in environments I want to go to, let's see, I think it was planes. If we here go to filters and we just type in static mesh, this will give all our meshes over here. It looks like planes was the one. So I want to just, this is just as a scale reference, which is always easy. And that is this one. So based on this I want to scale it, and like with this I can see that of course the floor is way too small. So let's set the scale to say 40 by 40 by 40. Yeah, that seems better. 40 by 40 by 40 works for me. So for now I can just remove this. And now we have this plane. So with the plane selected, as you can, I don't know if you can hear it, but my laptop will make a bit more of a noise because of the ventilators. So sorry for that if you hear like a bit of background noise. I try to reduce it as much as possible. Anyway, with this plane, now we want to create our material where we can use vertex painting for on this plane. To do that, I want to just quickly grab one of the materials that you already have. So in the kite demo, let's see, I think it was ground tiles, just turn off static. Yes, here, ground tiles. If we go to grass, we have asset platform grass. If you drag this on here, this is how it looks. But the nice thing about this is, it already has some vertex painting implanted. So if I just tick off the green and blue boxes into the paint channel and I just click on my plane, and then if I quickly swap to black, which is the opposite, and I want to start painting, let's set the radius higher, you can see that it will actually paint in already pebbles that work nicely with the displacement, like this. And that we can use to our advantage. So what we want to do is, for this material, I just want to duplicate this because I want to have a nice clean material, and I want to call this floor_mat, like this. And just drag this into our forest tutorial folder. Just move here. And we can drag this on here. If you then double click, here is our material. So I won't have too big of an intro on materials because they are pretty straightforward, and well, the thing I do is I once created a fairly big material which I can pretty much use for everything, like sort of a master material, just to be done with it. So that's what I did, and in this case we will just build upon this one. So it is very easy. First of all, here we have our two textures, which is the floor and the stones and the floor. So there are some more textures that we want to add, which is grass. So here, when we click on grass, I just want to pick the grass, diffuse, grass normal, and that's about it actually. Grass diffuse and normal will work for this because it's grass. It doesn't need a lot, it doesn't need like displacement, well, that would be unlogic for a game. Maybe if you would use parallax displacement, which is a bit cheaper than vertex deformation or vertex displacement. But of course for something like this, we will be using actual tessellation displacement or vertex displacement, however you want to call it. Anyway, gravel tiles. In the gravel tiles I want to pick, let's say, I think I want to pick this one, ADR, and I just have to have a quick look to see the difference. So yeah, this one is a lot bigger. It looks quite big in here, but we will actually be scaling it down quite a bit. So let's just pick these two over here and just drag them also in here. So that's the gravel tiles. That's about it. So let's just move these over here. Right click in the viewport, you can just move around like this, and left click will be for selecting, of course. Now, with this selected, let's move these apart so that we have a better understanding how it goes. So here is our vertex color, which will control the vertex paint. And right now it's only plugged into the red channel, so we still have the green channel, the blue channel and the alpha channel left. We will be using green for grass, blue for gravel, and the alpha channel we will do actual vertex position offset to paint like small hills and everything, because of course we would normally be able to do that in landscape, but right now, because it's a fairly flat environment, I choose this option because it is a bit easier and faster for an environment like this. So right here it multiplies with the displacement for this displacement map, and then it will lerp using the vertex color, and we want to also lerp it a few more times, and it does the same for this displacement, and it does the same for the diffuse over here. So what I want to do, let's see, so this is displacement, which lerps with another displacement, which will be going into world displacement. For that one, I do not need to touch this one, as far as I know, because we don't have displacement for the rest. So I just want to move these nicely down a bit. And I want to follow my, well, let's start by following my diffuse. So the two diffuse maps go into this lerp. This lerp goes into the subtract and into the multiply, which is just for some adjusting and getting the specular right. So what you want to do is after this subtract, after this subtract, we want to add a lerp. So if we right click and then we can just type in lerp, which is this one. And I want to drag the subtract in here. And I want to drag my diffuse of my grass in here. And for the alpha I want to pick the green channel. So not too hard yet. This floating node we can just remove. On this I want to add another lerp. Just drag it in here. Oops. Drag it in here. And let's pick our gravel. Let's drag that in here. And now if we pick our, where are you? Blue channel, like this, and plug it in here. So that will work for that. For the normal map, we have this lerp. And here we can also just add two lerps. Lerp and just Ctrl C, Ctrl V to duplicate it. Space these in here. And I want to just plug in my normal map. So yeah, it is a very easy adjustment because we are only adding more. We are just adding some more maps. So everything was already in place, which we were lucky for. Else I would need to make this material from scratch, which would take a bit more time. Anyway, plug this into the normal like this. With that done, let's just see. Well, I will change the displacement later on. Let's go down and let's make sure that it's on PN triangles. Yes. I just want to save this. I should have just pressed apply. That is most time faster. Anyway, so now we have this, and as you can see, it's replaced everything by gravel. But we will edit that later on. If we just select the green and blue, and just while it is on black, just press the paint buckets, which will completely remove them. So now if you have a look, red will paint stone. If you now click on green, green will paint grass, even though it's way too big. And now if you click on blue, blue will paint gravel. So that works. And also, as you can see, blue, since we have blue after the green, blue will always overpower green. So if you for example have gravel and you try to paint it green and it doesn't seem to work like this, after you just painted some, just go into blue and just remove some of the blue color. So with this done, let's go back to our floor material. And I just want to, I can just copy it here, a texture coordinate, or you can just type in text coord, texture coord, so texture C basically, and then it will be in here. And let's just duplicate this and just paste this into the UVs of the diffuse and normal for each of them, like this. Texture coordinate, I want to set the tiling to something pretty drastic, let's say 40 by 40, and the gravel 50 by 50. And now if you just press apply and have a look, it takes a while to update. 3, 2, 1, here we go. So now we can see that it updated. Gravel seems fine. We still have displacement, so that is also something we need to fix. Let's set the gravel to 40 and let's set the grass to 25. Seems fine. Now for our displacement, which is not really working that well, what we want to do is, after this lerp, let's add another 2 lerps. Here we go. And just set this into A. Just plug this into here. And for B, what I want to do is I want to I think what we can do, I think we can just let me just think the best way of doing this. I think we can just pick like a color. I'm just copying the color from there, which is faster. And the base tint color, and if we make this solid white, that will not give any displacement, but it might be that we need to make it solid black. That's what I was thinking about. So let's just make this solid white. And in the alpha, we just want to set this to green and the second one to blue. So that should fix that. Let's apply. It will be compiling again. Here we go. Yeah, looks like white did the trick. So now as you can see, we won't have any inaccurate displacement anymore on this, but still have it nicely on the stones. Now last thing we need to do for our material, so it really isn't that much of a thing. So last thing we need to do is we need to create a vertex color, another one. I always like to do this one separate. And with this vertex color, we like to just have the alpha. I believe we actually need to add a multiply. Let's add this into the world position offset. So wait, sorry. So we need to add a multiplier. I forgot. Let's have it in here. I'm always a bit fuzzy when it comes to materials like this. And we just want to create a constant, which is just a single number. And we want to set that to, let's say, 1 for now. And let's just apply. Let's go back here and let's wait for it to reload. Okay, here we go. And now if we go and deselect red, green or blue and only select the alpha, let's go to black and let's just bucket it so that it will be completely at 0. And now if you paint, you can see something happening, but it is not very strong. So if we go back to our material, let's set this to, let's say 35, the constant. Let's apply again. Let's go back. Let's wait for it to reload. Here we go. Oh, and now you can see it's a lot higher. So as you can see, now it will actually deformate our vertex like this. Just use the paint bucket. And if we would now set the strength, let's set the strength very low. So let's set the strength to 0.1. Then you can see that it will just very slightly changes our vertex like this. And like this we could just make it more and more. So with that done, I believe we have everything for our material. Let's just reset everything. So let's set everything on black. And let's set the paint bucket on with all the channels selected. And then we have a clean stone, which will have also some nice deformation in it already from the vertex. So our material is set up. We can now just save it. And now we can start. Let's say, I think I want to place one more material, and then we can place a few assets to have a baseline of what we want to do. And after that we can start by painting our terrain and model and adding foliage and everything. So let's start with that.